So when I went back and I read the statement, the things I thought of were, one, I'm glad he used his name, but two, when I got to the last sentence where he says he plans to meet with Kyrie Irving, I said, you mean you haven't met with him yet?
Yeah.
Olympic Tower is something like 8 miles away from Barclays Center. It's a subway ride away, a 30-minute subway ride away from Barclays Center. The fact that he hasn't met with him in 6 days about a pretty pressing issue that is dominating coverage of the league. I was floored to learn that, because typically the league acts pretty quickly. Typically, when they put out a statement like that, the meeting has already happened, and they won't even talk about the meeting. You'll hear about it. Yeah, Adam Silver got on the phone and he spoke with, I plan to talk. You plan to talk to him? So that was staggering to me. And then you said you hope he apologizes, which, as we know from Kyrie's press conference, he did not, or at least he did not utter the words, I apologize, or say, I'm sorry. Rather, he did this really curious thing, which he did earlier, or a week ago or so, when asked about Alex Jones, the Alex Jones post that he had, where he will start by saying all the right things,
Yep,
but then end almost instinctively with still remaining in contact with the thing he's supposed to be denouncing. So in the Alex Jones case, he said, the thing I posted, I know Alex Jones is, a bad, like he calls him like, oh, not the best guy or whatever. And he expresses sympathy for the Sandy Hook victims, and like, okay, great, Kyrie, just all right. But then he ends it with, he posted this in the 90s. And by the way, it's about the occult. And by the way, it's all true.
All true.
It's like, you were almost home free. You could have just said, sorry about that. That guy's bad news. And this must have been so awful for the Sandy Hook people. My bad. No, he's walking away, but he still has one hand touching, like, but I kind of like it though. Right? Same thing here. I hurt people. I don't mean to hurt people. I believe in everything. But then he says, well, I didn't make the documentary. Like, everything is, and then later on says there are some things in there that are very troubling or problematic about. Like, why are you qualifying statements as if like he doesn't want to anger Alex Jones, as if he doesn't want to anger the maker of this documentary? Like, they're still like, no, I still want to be cool with you guys. I got to take responsibility, but also, are we still cool? Because I kind of like some of this stuff.
Kate, do you have like a question that you would want to ask Kyrie? Like, if you were in that scrum, like, not to checkmate him or gotcha journalism, but like, it does seem like he's weaseling his way around having accountability. And today, Nick Friedel from ESPN, who we used to work with there, he was like, why can't you say yes or no to the question, do you have anti-Semitic beliefs? He would not answer that question yes or no. He kept evading, and just this word salad was happening.
Well, it's like, what's most sort of frustrating, sort of overused, I don't know what emotion I'm pulling here, but like, Kyrie Irving has told us who he is. And he also has presented himself as someone who's like willing to lose whatever it is, money, playing time, his beliefs are so strong, and he's so strong in his beliefs, he is willing to sacrifice for them, is sort of what he wants to present himself as. And yet, he also wants to have his cake and eat it too, in all of these instances as well, where he like, Amin, listeners couldn't see this, but Amin was also physically sort of like remaining in touch with the radioactive idea over here that Kyrie wants to stay within arm's length on. So it's like, Kyrie knows he touched something that is going to cost him more than he can comprehend. Right? I mean, he just saw Kanye lose deals that Kanye himself at least said out loud he didn't think he could ever lose, like his Adidas deal. And so maybe we're in this place now with Kyrie where it's like, all right, I want to remain in contact with this idea that I am a bold truth teller. And yet I can't go so far to be completely excommunicated out of the league and have my every single apparel deal I have canceled. And that's the place I think we find Kyrie in right now, is having his cake and eating it too.
I wouldn't be surprised if he's waived by the Brooklyn Nets by Thanksgiving. I thought when he signed his 4-year deal with the Nets in 2019, I was like, I could totally see him just retiring before that is done. Just the idea of Kyrie Irving and the NBA and Nike and all the things he's supposedly about, it doesn't really seem to align, because on one hand, he says, I'm just a human being. Don't put me on this pedestal like I have influence. And then says in the next sentence that he has an amazing amount of influence and a community and an army around me. Which one is it, Kyrie? But there is this angle here of Nike, of like Nike is sitting here as one of the biggest sponsors of the NBA. The NBA does not have a statement for 6 days.
Hold on. One of the biggest sponsors of the NBA and one of the biggest employers of Kyrie Irving.
Mm-hmm.
His signature shoe is through Nike. He has,
Yes.
he has a pretty hefty endorsement deal with them. So it's not just their involvement with the league as a whole. It's with him specifically.
Yes.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So I was just saying, like, where's Nike on this? And is the toothless statements from the NBA, because we always say follow the money. If you want to know why the NBA hasn't come down hard on Kyrie Irving, it's 6 days since Adam Silver spoke up. What's this about? Like, I mean, do you have a good answer for that question? Is why hasn't the NBA or the Brooklyn Nets come down strongly on Kyrie Irving and we know the Players Association, why they didn't put Kyrie's name in their statement. He's the VP and it's one of their clients. Why the NBA?
Dan asked me the same question on the show, and I could not fathom an answer. David Sampson posited that are they afraid of something, or some sort of backlash or Kyrie's reaction? He's a very volatile young man. And so could matters be exacerbated even worse if you do this without helping him understand and get to that point? Again, I know people are saying, why does it matter if he understands or not? You should just do it. But it's like Adam Silver's mission is not just to punish Kyrie Irving. Adam Silver's mission is to damage control the situation, to minimize the amount of negative PR that the league is going to, get hit with as a result of this. And if the path to doing that is a more subtle, I won't call it lenient, but like just a less reactive response to Kyrie, then he's going to do that. That's the only thing I can think of, is like, if I come down hard the way you guys want me to come down hard, this guy's really going to go off and say a bunch of stuff that's even more damaging and more hurtful and more divisive.
Yeah, because the big, I guess the question I have at this point is, I mean, in the most obvious way possible, like something has gone wrong inside of Kyrie Irving over the last couple of years. Like he is different in his mind, at least the way he is behaving publicly, right? It seems like he's improved himself, right? He is now conscious and open to the reality of the world and the conspiracies of it and the way it's always worked that he's never known. And yet from like the NBA fan, the casual NBA fan, it's like, what has happened? Why are we in this position now? And I think there is a lot of overlap in the way I think about Kyrie and try to talk about Kyrie and the way I would have talked about Kanye West a couple years ago, which is this a place where we're like, Adam Silver needs to sit down with Kyrie Irving and like truly understand what's going on with him right now, right? Like from a purely like, does he need help? Like, what is there a mental health issue that like we've talked about? It's just to Amin's point of like, if you just immediately react and send Kyrie in the complete opposite, like so that there's a volatile counteraction, like that doesn't help the NBA, because you're still in this position where one of your top 5 biggest stars, or at least top 5 biggest stars at one time or another, is like in active conflict with the league, and it seems to be an active conflict with like maintaining like a tether to reality as well. And so if your long-term goal is to get Kyrie Irving back to a place where he is like an ambassador for the game of basketball in the NBA, well, then what are the steps you take between now and that outcome? And the next one seems to be patience to a point, and then actually sitting down with him so you can look him in the eyes and try to actually gather human information about why he's doing the things he's doing, because none of us can I mean, you've sat across from him, I'm sure, in many a press scrum, but it's hard right now to get to a place where you can say like this adds up. Like, you know, Occam's razor, like, you know, what is the common sense solution to this? Like there is none for this. Like there is no, we went from A to B and I can see all the steps along the way. So I you know, if I'm Adam Silver, I'm like, man, there's a lot of missing information right here.
You know, it almost, to be fair, I think this is more of a tug of war for Kyrie about his desire to not have to rethink himself or his stance on stuff.
Stubborn.
Yeah, it's stubbornness. I think he truly thinks he's not anti-Semitic. Hell, I don't even know if he's anti-Semitic. But what I do know is he's a guy that once I say something, I'm going to double, rather than, no matter how ridiculous it is, I would rather double and triple down than just say, oops, you know what? That's a good point. You got me there.